Being a waitress. Being a waitress was probably one of the worst ideas I've ever had. You may be saying, Nawnii, waitressing isn't that bad. Come on, stop complaining. Well, if you're as clumsy as I am, it's a pretty bad idea. Let me start out with how I got the job. It was my senior year of high school. Me, my boyfriend, and my best friend were all walking to my house after school when we noticed there was a new restaurant. So we all decided, hey, we live in a tiny town where there's nothing better to do. Let's check it out. So we walked into this place, and it wasn't really good looking. It looked really thrown together last minute, and the sign looked like a piece of plywood written on with a Sharpie, saying Steve's Cafe. Being a cafe, we all expected coffee, tea, biscuits, cookies, cafe stuff. But no, it was a hamburger joint with decent-ish burgers and really greasy fries that for some reason I really liked. We all walked up to the counter, and we were granted by none other than the owner, Mr. Steve. Let me tell you, at the first time that I saw Mr. Steve, is that he looked like an unshowered, unkempt, creepy uncle. He had, sort of a beer belly and the bushiest eyebrows I've ever seen. And he kind of looked like he was covered in grease. One of the first things that this man said was, "Who's looking for a job?" To which I raised my hand because I was indeed in the market for a job. He said, "Which one of you is 18?" And again, I raised my hand. Without an interview, asking my name, or knowing my background, I was hired. I started the very next day after school. It started out fine. I learned the register. And since we were never really busy, I only had to serve 3 or 4 people at a time. The majority of my pay was in tips, and for some reason, no one ever left tips. I tried my best to be nice, threw in some jokes, made people laugh. I tried to be really nice to my customers. I'd like to think I'm pretty sociable in a working scenario. When I didn't get enough tips, Steve would pay me a minimum wage. Or at least he did, one time. Since we didn't get a lot of customers, he didn't get a lot of money. And at one point, he paid me in food. Well, Nawnii, if he was paying you in food, why didn't you quit? Well, there's a few reasons behind that. Reason number 1, I was probably gonna buy food with my money anyway. Reason number 2, my family was all really proud, and I just kept doing it because they were proud. Reason 3 is I had nothing better to do. I didn't have too many bad customers. If I messed up an order, most people were pretty understanding. For example, this one time a bunch of bikers came in, 16 of them, and I was the only waitress. I mixed up 2 of their burgers. Basically, I gave one man's burger to the guy sitting next to him, and that guy got his burger. So they were like, "It's okay, doll. It's no biggie. We'll just switch." Steve, on the other hand, was really upsetty in his spaghetti, because he said, "Don't mess up again." He yelled at me. One thing I really dislike is to be yelled at. It makes me feel really sad. Not only did he yell at me, but my boyfriend and all 16 of those bikers heard him yell. I cried. I tried my best, but I did cry. I don't cry very much, but I guess that hurt my feelings really bad. I see now that it's kind of stupid that I cried, but whatever, it's over. This other pair of customers came in, and it was a mother and a daughter. They ordered a pair of burgers. I sat them down, gave them their food, I gave them the desired drinks, etc. Then they came in "How dare you serve me and my mother such disgusting burgers?" Me, being the fragile bean who cannot handle the simplest of conflict in the real world, froze for at least 20 seconds, until I could finally stutter out, "Let me get my boss." So I retreated to the kitchen to fetch Steve. We both walked up to the front, and basically he gave them the food for free. Then they left. I went to the table to clean up their mess, and I saw that they had both eaten the entire sandwich and the fries. If you hated the food so much, why would you eat all the food? Even if you hated it, and you decided to eat it, why wouldn't you pay for it? That really bothers me, still, till this day. I don't understand. As I said, I didn't get too many bad customers, but this is where it gets really weird, and it has nothing to do with customers, it's the boss, Steve. Since it was my senior year, I got off of school before all my friends. 2 hours before all my friends. So after school, I headed straight to work, and then after my friends got off the school, they'd head straight over to visit me too. During the week, especially after school, we barely had a customer, especially right after school. So a lot of times we goofed off. Everyone would. My friends, me, Steve, and we would often play with big bouncy balls. That sounds weird. Steve had these little machines that dispensed big bouncy balls for $1, and we'd open the top and get 3 or 4. Go outside and bounce them on the wall. It was pretty fun when you had 3 or 4 people. Well, one day I ended up pelting the balls at each other, and I thought, heh, I'm gonna run inside and get another one and sneak attack these losers. So I run inside with a few people behind me. I think it was Steve and my best friend Chase. One of them threw a ball at me. It missed, so I chased after the ball and went into the back hall, Steve following behind. Disclaimer, this is where it gets freaky and creepy. It's bad. I grabbed the ball and I turned around. At that point I was against the wall. It was a really small hall. And Steve had put his hands on the wall, caging me in, and he must have realized my face from going normal to pale as a sheet because he moved from the wall and walked away. I slowly, dizzily, walked out of the hall, put the ball back where it belonged, grabbed my book bag, went outside, told my friends that I got off early, and we went home. I returned sometimes to work, but I didn't go every day like I did initially. I didn't stay the entire day until eventually I just stopped going altogether. I didn't tell him. I was too freaked out to even talk face to face with the guy. Eventually, the place shut down, and it was replaced by a really nice seafood restaurant. Those are some stories of my first job. Creepy. Creepy stories. That one last story. I hated it. I barely got paid. I don't understand why I stayed. Why did I stay? Look, I got some fan art. Thank you for all these lovely pieces. I think they're all amazing. I love fan art. If you want to send fan art, you can send them. I'm gonna make a Twitter. I don't have one yet, but Twitter, I'll probably make it before this video. This is my Twitter. It's in the description. My DeviantArt in the description. My Discord server is also in the description. Remember the next time that you go to a restaurant to tip your waitress, because you don't know if she has a super creepy boss. She might need that extra $3.